Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video I will be discussing season 2 of House of the Dragons, which just ended this past Sunday. And I gotta be honest with you, I'm not totally shocked at the response that I've seen from fans online about the season finale. To me it felt very Game of Thrones, but not very much House of Dragons, if that makes any sense. Seeing everyone gear up for battle kind of reminded me of like a season 3 or season 4 ending of a Game of Thrones season, where, you know, Daenerys advances to something and then it kind of ends on her with like a bunch of ships, or it ends with her riding a dragon, or it ends with her, you know, leveling up. And then it's like, okay, she leveled up, maybe she'll go to the throne this time, you know what I mean? Like that kind of feeling to where like, and yeah, I just feel like it left us wanting a bit more than I expected going into it. I was very excited, especially with that episode before, the penultimate episode, where you see Rhaenyra, you know, leveled up for sure with three dragon riders, or 2 other dragon riders, Ulf and Hugh the Hammer. Ulf, who just like was a complete dumbass this past episode, which was crazy. And I want to get back to him because I'm curious what he's actually going to end up doing, or what role he will play into the you know, next season. But yeah, the ending to the episode before, where you just kind of see Rhaenyra posted up, looking badass. By far one of my favorite shots of the whole like series so far. It was such a tough shot, and it kind of led you to believe that, okay, maybe we'll see something. And that trailer totally like led us on a little bit to where we were kind of all expecting like, all right, we're at least going to see some kind of form, or at least the beginnings of battle. We just kind of really saw the preparations and kind of the fallout of Rhaenyra acquiring the other 2 dragon riders, as well as Tywin Lannister, who just kind of went on this like weird expedition to like acquire these people to help him break the blockade. And real quick, I thought this when I first saw the man. I didn't really think this like in season 1 or the beginning of season 2, just this episode specifically. I don't know if it was because I was under the influence or anything, but Tywin totally looks like Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports. They are almost identical, to be honest with you. So like the whole time when he was talking, once that kind of clicked in my head, I just started to see the guy that like is on the corner of like pizza places and like is telling me if this is a good slice to eat or not. And I did enjoy his part, and the kind of mud wrestling thing he had to do to kind of gain the trust of his admiral, who he will be going to battle with. I enjoyed it, but it was one of those things where it's like, should this be at the end of this season? You know what I mean? I'm seeing a lot of people saying that this felt like the build up to the next episode. You know what I mean? And I tend to agree. I definitely think it made me want more, you know what I mean? It made me like want to rush or skip time in, you know, a year and a half or 2 years whenever we get the next season. Before I get into my overall thoughts of season 2, I do want to talk about some of the positive things about this final episode. The acting was on point. I mean, you had Alan talk to Corlys, which I thought was brilliant. I thought the scene between Christian Cole and Alicent's brother was really well done, as well as the scene between Alicent and Rhaenyra when she finally comes and visits her and has a little chat with her, and kind of like basically comes clean, or not comes clean, but kind of just admits that like, yeah, I fucked up, which is crazy, man. Her at the end of this season is so wild to me, because it was always presented as like, you know, team green, team black, the 2 queens, you know, Rhaenyra or Alicent. You know, that's a whole marketing. If you look at the poster, like they're right front and center, you know what I mean? They're kind of versus each other. And by the end of it, she's like, it's such a non-factor. I mean, she's still very important, but like in terms of like getting things done, or making moves, it's wild to me that she like is such like a, you know, almost like an afterthought. She was chilling like the previous episode, just kind of like going for a swim. So that was kind of wild to me, the fact that like her story ended up that way. It makes sense once Aegon becomes like king, and then Aemon becomes king. What was it called, bro? King consort? Not king consort, but like king regent or some shit like that. Whatever it is, prince regent. He kind of like gets her out of the council and everything, to the point where like it's like, dude, Otto's gone. Alicent, like really the whole reason why she's like in the position of power is because of Otto. It's like wild. It's wild that she ended up that way, but it makes sense. It makes sense. I also wanted to talk a little bit about the scene involving Aegon and Larys Strong. You know, Littlefoot, I'm trying to remember other nicknames for him. Feet Finder, which again, there was no like feet memes that we could kind of get from this season, which was a little disappointing, to be honest with you. I kind of enjoyed like him being like a little weirdo about feet, even though he has like a a club foot or something like that. Anyway, the conversation he had with Aegon was very, very like emotional. Game of Thrones does this thing where like it takes a shitty, or not even a shitty character, because I don't think there's too many shitty characters in Game of Thrones, but it takes this kind of like crap, this person who is a piece of crap, you know what I mean, and kind of makes you feel sympathy for him. When Aegon's talking about like his penis being burnt off, when he fell down and stuff like that, as well as like, and Aegon just seems so like defeated. Larys comes in and he's like, yo, we got to get out of here, bro. Like, your brother's going to come and he's going to, like, take you out. And Aegon's just like, I'm the king. Why should I run? You know what I mean? He kind of combats him a little bit whenever he brings up about Rhaenyra having the dragons and, like, what Aemon has done. But for the most part, you could just tell he's not there anymore. He's just kind of, like, going with the motion almost. You know what I mean? Almost in autopilot mode. And to the point where, like, he's not even really focusing on, like, what Larys is telling him. You know what I mean? He mentioned his burnt penis that got, like, flamed, whenever he was, like, falling out from the dragon, or whenever he got burned by Vhagar. That, him talking about, like, the piss squirting down his leg, because he can't even pee without it, like, going down his leg. Crazy stuff. And then he mentions, like, him wanting to go to, like, I think it's Essos. I don't even want to get that wrong. Or Bravos, maybe. Essos, Bravos. Wherever he wanted to take him. And he mentions that you want me to go with like the goat fuckers or sheep fuckers. And it's just like, oh, okay, like he is a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like I like when shows do that, whenever you're feeling sympathy, and he looks horrific. I'll be honest with you. Like the makeup job was like incredible on Aegon. He looks fucked up. He looks messed up, man. I'll be honest with you. And like it was kind of tough to look at him like for that whole time, and they just kind of had that shot of him, and they didn't move it. There was no angles of like the side of him. It was just like straight on him the whole time when he was telling this stuff, and he just seemed so out of it and just kind of like, just mentioning things that's like bothering him. You know what I mean? Saying that how he's alone and stuff like that. It really did a good job at making the viewer uncomfortable. I was super uncomfortable. I was like, damn, get this guy off my screen, please. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but the conversation Criston Cole has with Alicent's brother, about him he's another one who just seems kind of out of it, who just seems kind of content with death in a way that I thought was very interesting. I will say this, my one complaint with that scene is, I feel like we were kind of like thrown into it almost, you know what I mean? Where like we come into the scene and Criston Cole is kind of like looking at the little, like, I don't even know what it's called, like not a doily, a handkerchief. He's kind of looking at like the handkerchief that Alicent gave him, or whatever the fuck that is, the little towel that he gave her, or that she gave him. And then her brother like bugs out and is just like, have you no shame? And just kind of like has his sword pointed to him. And it's just like, all right, I know you guys don't like each other, and I know you don't like him for sure, because he's always kind of throwing shade his way, like, oh, you're kind of a lowborn, this and that. But it's like, where is this coming from? I feel like we should have seen this, like, I feel like there should have been, like, at least a lead up to it, you know what I mean? Or maybe a scene of them traveling or something. I mean, I know we got this in other episodes, so maybe they just wanted to, like, throw us into, like, the conflict of, like, him kind of confronting him about, like, sleeping with Alicent, kind of not obeying the Kingsguard like rule or rhetoric they have. I really like the scene. I really like what Criston Cole was saying, even though Criston Cole was terrible. But like the way he was saying it, and the way he was kind of like, dude, we're like not even a factor in this. There's no way. Like they have dragons, and like she just gained like so many more. Like when the dragons dance, men are ashes at their feet or something like that. I thought it was a powerful line, awesome line. It was kind of really good promo, and even him like saying that like the idea of like all men being corrupt, you know what I mean, and that like loyalty or honor is like a mist that goes away in the morrow. He was waxing poetic. I'll be honest with you, he was cutting some good stuff, but it just came like I was just like, what is going on? Like why? I feel like their confrontation, or his confrontation of Criston Cole, should have been bigger, because they've had so many like back and forths and so many like throwing like, you know what I mean, passive aggressive moments. I just feel like we could have saw a scene where it kind of led up to it. I don't know. I mean, overall I enjoyed the scene. It was just more of me being like, why is this happening right now? Why is he just pointing his sword at him right now? You know what I mean? Two more things I want to talk about before I get into the whole overall season review. Corlys and Alan. Powerful scene right there. Powerful scene. And I hope it's Alan and not Adam, because I know they have like similar names. I'm assuming it's Alan. The scene where he was talking to Corlys, and Corlys is kind of giving him advice of like, yo, you should behave this way, you should like carry yourself that way. And man, Alan just went off on him, to the point where it's like, Jesus, you know, I've known plenty of people that didn't know their father and stuff like that, or, you know, you could just tell that they have this kind of feeling towards their parent who wasn't there, or even a parent who just kind of like a deadbeat who just kind of dipped off on them. And I thought the actor did a fantastic job. Salute to him, because I really, really felt that performance. And the way he was pronouncing certain words was just crazy, man. He put like so much emphasis on certain words that he would just never take his advice, you know what I mean? Or just never need his help. The way he said help was crazy. And Corlys just kind of being there on the side, and it's just like, okay, like, how could I say this? I enjoy scenes like this because it reminds us that these characters are flawed, you know what I mean? Everyone loves Corlys. I love Corlys, you know what I mean? He's the sea snake. You know what I mean? He's a cool guy. You know, we love when he's helping Rhaenyra out. We love when that she picked him as her hand and that he accepted, you know? And he's been through so much with his kids, you know what I mean? With like one of them, you know, dying because of Dragonfire, the other one assumed dead, you know what I mean? We still don't know what's going on with that, but like he assumes he's dead. He assumes his son's dead. So he's been through a lot. He lost his wife this season. So we feel a lot of sympathy, and we'd like Corlys overall because he always seems like a cool, you know, good guy. And the scene that he had with Alan just reminds you that, like, no, he's actually a piece of shit. Like, he actually did, like, a really shitty thing, you know, that we kind of view now as, like, you know, I always say, like, back then, but it's always funny to me because, like, back then there was, like, dragons and shit. But, like, back, you know, in those kind of times was probably common, you know what I mean? Like, for them to, like, you know, for a guy to, like, father a son out of wedlock and just kind of, like, not acknowledge him or not kind of, like, you know, confirm or deny that that is his child, and his child kind of being like in the shadow of a father that doesn't want him, you know, real deep and personal stuff like that. But I enjoy scenes like that just because, like I said, it kind of throws a reminder of like, okay, like this guy that I really enjoy as a character, he isn't like, he isn't just this kind of like, you know, goody good guy. He has like a past, and you know, it came to bite him in the ass, and Alan just went off on him, bro. And even the scene that he had with Adam, whenever he like finds out that Adam is the one that, you know, became a dragon rider, which is kind of like, well done, and just kind of dips. It's like, oof, a little cold. All right, the last thing I really wanted to talk about was Daemon and Harrenhal, all that kind of stuff, all the stuff that he had going on there this whole season. I really this episode, but I'll go overall, like, I'll go back to it later. With what the fuck is her name? Daemon's whole thing with Alice, how she kind of like instructs him to go to the werewood tree, and he kind of touches the tree and sees visions. First of all, he sees like a centaur or some crazy shit. I still don't know what the fuck that was. I only seen the episode 1, so I haven't really had a chance to like slow it down and like really see what that actually was, but that was crazy. And he sees a lot of things in his vision, man. He sees the three-eyed raven, which if you watch the podcast I did with my brother, whenever he finished Game of Thrones, we were talking about how, like, at least I did, how, like, the three-eyed raven and White Walker stuff was by far the most interesting thing on Game of Thrones. I was like, where did this come from? How did this happen? So the fact that we see him, you know, kind of forming, it seems like his, like, cocoon or whatever it is that he stays in, as well as visions of White Walkers and Rhaenyra on the throne, Daemon drowning, a lot of interesting imagery that I hope we see pay off. I mean, with the White Walkers, we kind of know what happens there, although I still would like them to touch upon that and just kind of expound upon that. They were talking about all these like original series of Game of Thrones. I would love a Children of the Forest or the First Men series, just to see like what was that about, you know what I mean, and really flesh that out. I'm not even sure they have material for that, but I would personally like really enjoy that. Maybe like a mini series, you know what I mean, maybe just like one season of them explaining everything. I actually felt like, this is off topic, but I felt like they should have added like at least an episode of that in the final season of Game of Thrones, just to kind of give us more context and more substance to like the whole Night King stuff like that. Otherwise he was just kind of like a monster, you know, like a Jason Voorhees kind of guy that just like never stopped coming to take you out. He goes on later to tell Rhaenyra that winter is coming, you know what I mean, the you know, the meme. He bends the knee to Rhaenyra, which I thought was really cool, and she checked him right away. As soon as she walked in, she was just like, damn, this is pretty impressive. And like in layman's terms, Daemon was just like, yo, they're really loyal to me, you know what I mean, these are my men. or they're sworn to me, you know what I mean? She's like, well, who are you sworn to? Straight up, like right off the bat, I was like, damn, okay, Rhaenyra, enough fucking around. You can't be fucking around at this point, you know what I mean? Like, no more fucking around. And I'm so glad that they did this. Although homeboy that like went to like convince him to be king totally took forever to get there. They didn't take like 3 episodes, I don't know. But of course Daemon bends the knee and everyone kind of gears up for war, and the season kind of ends on that note of everyone kind of preparing for battle. I'll go into my predictions of things I think is going to happen later on, but yeah, overall I thought it was a good episode. As far as a season ending, I don't know, man. And a cliffhanger, you know what I mean, to like leave us off on that note, I don't know. I'm still going back and forth with it. Like I said, it felt very Game of Thrones, so I didn't mind it when it ended. I kind of figured, you know, it reminded me of like one of those early Game of Thrones season endings, you know? So it definitely reminded me of that. The problem is that, you know, I think I'm trying to remember when I hopped onto Game of Thrones, bro. I had to be like season 4, and I kind of binged season 1 through 4. So those endings didn't really hit me as hard because I didn't have to wait, you know? The only seasons I really waited for were 5 through 8, I believe. Those were the ones where I was kind of like anticipating things. But having those early ones, you know, you could just go to the next episode and see, okay, where we're at now. And you can't do it this time because we're going to have to wait a year or 2 maybe. Even just stumbling upon a Wikipedia or fan wiki, you know, of Game of Thrones or a Song of Ice and Fire could be dangerous. I totally saw Aemon, because I was like fascinated with the character. I was like, man, this guy's so cool. First of all, I don't know why he wears the eye patch. I think the purple sapphire in his eye is heat. I don't know why he has like, I don't know why. Maybe it's like an expensive effect or a costly effect. I really don't know, but I think that looks so cool, bro. I hope next season he's just rocking it without it, to be honest with you. But yeah, I want to look more into him like at the end of the previous season, wherever he took out Rhaenyra's kid. And I was like, well, Jesus, this guy seems like a big player, you know? And unfortunately, I ended up getting on the spoiler of like how he dies, which they actually touched upon a little bit here when he was talking to Helaena and trying to like pleading her to be like, yo, come with me. Like, I need you to ride your dragon. We need all the help we could get to like maintain this throne, which I guess is the ultimate goal, you know, for them to just kind of like maintain their spot on top. And shout out to Helaena, another character who just kind of like stood up finally and was like not talking in riddles, talked to him direct and was like, yeah, I seen the future, bro. Like, you're dead. You're the, you know, that's the last anyone sees you. Like, you get swallowed up by the God's Eye. And I won't get into that because that kind of plays into the fact of like his demise. But and the look on his face after he threatens her with, you know, I could have you killed for saying that. It's treasonous. And she's just like, wouldn't change a thing. Would not change a single thing. You're still gonna, you know, that's still gonna happen to you. Oh, I love that scene. Shout out to Helaena. I really hope it stays on this level where she's kind of like not fucking around. I don't know, man. It's interesting because she seems so scared even earlier when she was talking to Alicent. You know what I mean? It almost seems like 2 separate people. Where she's talking to Alicent and she's kind of like, you know, why do they hate us? What's up with the blockade? And I don't know. It's almost like, don't you know? You know what I mean? Like, you're a smart person. What's up with that? You know, the duality of like those 2 personalities of hers. And it almost makes me question, like, was she controlling, I almost want to say Alice. Is that her name? Alice. Is it spelled messed up? Like, was she controlling Alice or was Alice controlling her? You know what I mean? It's one of those things where like I kind of question what's going on. And then Daemon sees her in the vision, which just led to a bunch of questions. I'm telling you, anything mythical or like supernatural in the show, I love, to be honest with you. The whole battle stuff, it interests me, yeah, for sure. Especially because the action, and I think they do like a fantastic job of directing and everything like that. But maybe it's because we know so little about that kind of stuff that it does like pique my interest. I'm not sure, but that aspect of the show I really enjoyed. All right, well, let me give you my overall thoughts on the season, the highs and lows, things that's kind of stuck out to me. The highs would be the production. I mean, Jesus, this looks like a movie every time you put it on. I think they did a fantastic job at improving some of the night scenes, or they were shooting the kind of like day to night scenes where they would shoot during the day and then I guess edit or color grade it to be like a night scene, which I thought, man, there's a photo of her and Daemon on the beach in season 1 that looked pretty dope, honestly. Like, just the still image of them both kind of like walking on the beach, and then you see it in the show and it's like, dude, I can't see anything. And I like to think I have a decent 4K TV to where like I could actually enjoy the episode, but like, man, season 1 had some moments where I was like, dude, it's so dark that like we're shutting off lights, you know what I mean, we're closing the blinds, you know what I mean? I almost wanted to get a curtain just because like I was like, why is it so dark here, bro? You know, I know Game of Thrones season 8 kind of had that problem a little bit, although I think they improved it Rewatching it with my brother, I think they improved it a little bit because I didn't really have trouble seeing it as much. Also, don't own season 1, the physical copy of House of the Dragons. I imagine it's the files that we have on HBO Max or Max. So I assume they look just like the Blu-rays or the 4K, video thingies. So I assume they're the same. So I'm not sure what was going on with that, but man, this shit was so dark. But I thought season 2 did a really, really good job at kind of illuminating dark scenes and making it more visually pleasing for the viewer. Also, the thing that kind of drew everyone into this, dragons. I thought what they did with dragons this season was fantastic. The scene where Rhaenyra brings in all the Targaryen bastards, and the dragon is kind of trying to like separate and kind of like weed out the ones that aren't worthy, or maybe just pissed off. Really, you can't really tell with these dragons. And Hugh kind of like is on the run and kind of like taking cover and stuff like that. Bro, some of those scenes look straight from Cloverfield, which I love. Cloverfield is one of my favorite movies ever. And the sequels have been, don't want to get into that, but like that found footage and those kind of shots of like, almost like POV of like Hugh, I assume, running around, and you really felt like you were down there and there was a giant monster just kind of like looming over you. I'm gonna see if I can find a GIF to put it in, but there's a scene of the dragon blowing fire, the dragon kind of looking around. It looked just like the monster from Cloverfield, wherever they're kind of like running underneath. I believe they're going towards a subway. Or a store, maybe a convenience store, and Hud, who's the cameraman in the movie, kind of pans up, and you kind of see the Cloverfield monster. You don't really see him as much in the movie, but he kind of like is just there, and just kind of your first clear look at him, and it was just like, holy shit. Like I mentioned earlier, how acting was really good in this season, character development was really good in this season, but I do have to talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say the Luigi that is Daemon in Harrenhal. Luigi's Mansion. I don't know if it fucking made sense there, but Luigi's Mansion reference. You know what I mean? Damon in the Mansion. I actually enjoyed those scenes a lot. It was just, I felt like once we got into the important aspects of it, like I thought like one episode with Rhaenyra's, original actress the young Rhaenyra, who I love, Millie Atlock. I think that's her name. Seeing her again was awesome. I thought she did a fantastic job as Rhaenyra. So seeing her was cool. I'm trying to think the parts I would have cut out, man. I would have cut out like him banging his mom. You know what I mean? Stuff like that I don't think was like super necessary. I actually enjoyed the scenes that he had with Viserys. I really enjoyed those scenes a lot. The only problem was by the time we got him, we were all kind of like over the whole Harrenhal scenes, We were all kind of anticipating, especially when Rhaenyra sent Homeboy to like go look for him. We were all kind of anticipating, like, when is Rhaenyra going to pull up, And I almost wish I had that scene, like, an episode or two before. I think if they just kind of paced that differently, and he was with her, like, the last couple of episodes, maybe it would have been different. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not really sure what the book entails. From what I understand, they're kind of like chapters in this big, Targaryen book that's kind of told from, like, a maester's point of view. So I'm not sure how well they wanted to flesh that out, or if it kind of contradicts what's in the books too much to where they were just kind of like, nah, we're going to keep him on the Harrenhal the majority of the season. And Matt Smith is such a fantastic actor. He's funny, man. Like even in this last one when they were talking about like, we don't have goats, but we have pigs. Do dragons eat pigs? And he's like, Caraxes prefers them. And he's just like on the move, like walking. It's just like subtle comedic stuff like that. That was like really funny. His whole interactions with like the oh man, what's his name? The guy who's like dripped out. He has like clean ass threads the whole show. My God, what's his name? I have to look it up. Dude, I could not find this shit. Sir Simon Strong. Dude, I don't know what the fuck I was talking about. Oh my God, it took me so long to look up his name. I legit forgot my point about that. I don't know, but shout out to him. He wears like a lot of clean shit. I honestly forgot what I was doing just by looking him up. I actually forgot what I was talking about there. It had something to do with Damon and Simon, I guess, but I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but I enjoyed their interactions very much this season. I think that drugged the show down a little bit, just being there too many times and having it kind of being like a Groundhog's Day almost, where Damon's kind of having these same kind of things happen over and over again, just different varieties or variations of it, to be honest with you. And like I said, I thought once we got to Viserys, those conversations was really pivotal and really important. Him kind of talking to Daemon and seeing Homeboy back again was awesome. But him kind of talking to Daemon and being like, yo, like, you've always wanted this. Do you actually want this still? You know what I mean? Like, it's not privilege. This is like a burden. You know what I mean? This is something that like is a burden to have on you. You're gonna have to deal with a lot of shit and make like really hard decisions. And you kind of see it whenever Homeboy, whenever the young guy starts going off on him, and then like he's like, well, yeah, our army will join you, but you have to take out the guy that like did all these atrocities. You know what I mean? And Daemon like doesn't hesitate really, because Daemon's like just is so willing to cut people's heads off. But coming to the decision, you could kind of tell Daemon was like, oh shit, like this is I have to like, you know, rule. I have to like make a decision. You know what I mean? It's almost like he was never in that position anyway, other than commanding an army, that he had to actually make like these real like political decisions almost. I'm trying to think of other negatives this season that I would have had. I mean, the whole Rhaenyra not acting on stuff, or her wanting to act, and then it was a couple episodes where that kind of came up, where it's just like, we need to act now, we have to strike now, you know what I mean? And Rhaenyra's like, you know, I thought Rhaenyra's reasoning was reasonable, where she was kind of like, I inherited all these years of peace from my father. You know, I have to know for certain that this is like guaranteed, like that this is the only option, that like war is the only option. I mean, her reasoning was cool. It was just like hearing that kind of over and over again, like, yo, you got to do something. You got to do something. Every episode was kind of like, all right, like, I get it. I'm also curious about the decision to make it only 8 episodes. You know what I mean? I'm curious, what is the next season going to entail? You know, how many episodes are we going to get? Are we going to get 10? Are we going to get 8? So we kind of got the idea of the severity of the situation they're in when it comes to battles, and we really saw the severity of the dragon battles, or the dancing of dragons. You know what I mean? How, I want to say peligroso, how like, what's the word? How damning those battles are. I thought seeing like Sir Christian Cole, who's just a piece of shit, like push people, and like it's just they're pushing that guy, and it was just like a armor of ashes. You know what I mean? He's also a fucking nut, to be honest with you. Like even I was thinking about now, like all the episodes. The fact that he sent Homeboy on like essentially like a damn near a suicide mission to go kill Rhaenyra in her sleep, and then like, because they're a twin, you know what I mean, which was like a brutal fight, by the way. Oh my god, that was crazy. Where like Homeboy's is like almost like he's eating a bowl of cereal. He's clearly, you know, he's obviously not eating a bowl of cereal, but he's just eating there. And Christian Cole's like, yo, you're dirty, bro. We gotta clean this up. We have to represent, you know what I mean? And it's so obvious that he's kind of projecting onto him like the way he feels for the things that he's doing with Alicent. I also want to talk about one of my other characters who I kind of enjoyed this season, which I did not enjoy him the first season. I mean, I thought the actor did a fantastic job in the first season, but Otto Hightower, absolutely, him berating Aegon was fantastic. Mentioning how like it was a prank, this plan that they had. Just totally like exposing the fact that like he's the one that put him in that position. You know what I mean? Literally, when you think about him, you know, essentially like pimping out his daughter, or kind of like pushing her to be, you know, with Viserys. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like it's him and Alicent like really just like are reaping what they sowed. To the point where like we see him in like a cage now. What the fuck's up with that? He's like looking at like. He's like, he looked like the Slim Shady, or not the Slim Shady. He looked like the Marshall Mathers LP cover where Eminem is kind of like bunched up. He essentially was in that position and just kind of opening his eyes to like, I don't know what was going on there. I don't know who has him captured either. I thought that was random, but really funny. I almost assumed that like Alicent went to go find him, and that she might still be plotting on Rhaenyra after making that agreement that they had together. I don't think that's the case. But it did cross my mind where I was just like, okay, we see her walking around. We see like her walking around for a minute. And then we also see like Otto Hightower captive. And I'm just kind of like, oh, like, is she going to him to like kind of see what can they actually do? But I doubt that's the case. Man, the fact that I'm sucked back into this, bro, and like looking up theories and watching those videos is just like, it pisses me off. Because at the end of Game of Thrones, I was like, you know what, man? Fuck this shit. Honestly, I didn't hate the ending. I just like didn't like the way they got there. But I was so like, yo, I'm over it. I'm done. And now I'm right back to being super into it, to loving the memes. Like it's fantastic. It's really well done though. That's the thing. Like these shows are really, really well done when it comes to production. I know certain episodes the writing might have been here and there, but I think for the most part they nail the writing. The acting's fantastic. It's funny as fuck. That's the other thing too. Like these shows are like really, really funny, and they have like a good sense of humor sprinkled throughout. I feel like House of Dragon season 1 did a good job at distinguishing itself between the fast pace, the way they were moving. Each episode just felt like it was jumping over and over again. Like we're just like, damn, they're gonna be done with this show within 2 seasons. You know what I mean? And this one, you can kind of tell that they kind of said, all right, let's slow things down a bit, and kind of really, really like focus in on like the build up to this battle, or war even. I don't want to say battle because we got some battles earlier with like Aegon and Aemon and Meleys and stuff like that. So to this war, just kind of like settle down and really build up this war really well, which I think they did a good job, honestly. Like I'm really hyped for the for the 3rd season. It's just a wait. It's just a wait that's gonna like kill a lot of people. But I think by the time it comes around, people will be hyped again, and as soon as we get like a trailer or promotional poster or something like that, I think people will be back on the train. I saw this was like one of the lowest rated episodes. I understand it, man. They definitely kind of led us to believe that something big was happening, which nothing really did. I mean, I thought the conversation with Alicent and Rhaenyra was probably the biggest part, and then of course Daemon bending the knee and acknowledging that, like, yeah, you're the one, you got it, boss. But yeah, guys, I don't want to be too long-winded with this video. Give me your thoughts in the comments, what you think. Please like, subscribe, comment, all the good stuff. Hit the little bell. I feel like no one says that anymore. Hit the bell. I said it in another like review that I did a while ago, like 2 months ago, and I was like, what happened with the bell? No one talks about the bell anymore. There's a bell there. Hit the bell and you'll see my new videos whenever I drop them. I'm doing a JPEG Mafia discography review where I'll be going through his whole discography from his first album under the name JPEG Mafia to his most recent album, as well as a full album review. Kind of what I did with the Eminem stuff, just with JPEG Mafia. And that should be dropping Thursday for the discography review, and then Friday will be the album review. No podcast this week, just because I'm dealing with a lot of stuff, a lot of like car trouble and stuff like that. So it's kind of making it harder for me to kind of navigate, and I guess could come over here, but it's kind of difficult because my mind honestly has been just solely on fixing my car and figuring out what's going on with that. So yeah, I mean, honestly, my mind's been like on there. I was going to do a Deadpool review, but now I'm kind of like, shit, should I even do it? I might end up doing it just as like a random video to throw in there. But yeah, I don't want to keep you guys here for too much longer. Appreciate it, guys, as always. Thank you. Till next time. Peace.